here, one thing that we have to understand when it comes to supporting children with autism is understanding the brain and the gut connection. Every disease begins in the gut. So the status or function of the gut is going to be very important. It's going to be something that we want to safeguard. The first system that I look after when a child comes into clinic or if the child comes into my care, the first system that I look after is the digestive system. Let's say, for instance, you're bloated, like I was 2 days ago after eating my mother's sadza, right? I ate sadza at night. That was the night that I was a bit restless, struggled to sleep. I really didn't go into a deep sleep. One may argue it was too hot. One may argue it's menopause. But later on in the day, I was pretty sluggish, didn't have a lot of energy. I was struggling to get myself into the state of working. And I just couldn't. I couldn't pull myself up. I couldn't pull myself out of this state that I was in. And I wasn't hungry. I didn't want to eat. I wasn't interested in eating. And then I realized, I am actually bloated. My tummy wasn't bulged out like it usually does for some kids. They wake up in the morning, they've got a flat tummy, and the next thing they've got a distended tummy. It wasn't like that. But I was practically feeling very sluggish and very bloated. Why? It's because I had eaten sadza the previous day. Before I started doing what I'm doing, I would have never thought it was the sadza that was making me sluggish. I would have probably started thinking I am depressed, I am sad, or, my sleep pattern has been affected, or there's something going on with my brain. I would have looked at something else other than the sadza that made me bloated, right? As soon as I took 2 capsules of my favorite binder, within 45 minutes, I was back to my happy, bubbly, energetic person. I was able to have breakfast. I was able to go on and do therapy with my son and engage with everybody that was coming in. But before I took those 2 capsules, I was extremely sluggish. It's not always the brain. At the back of our head, there is a long nerve that moves from the brainstem to the colon that is actually called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve transports information from the brain through to the gut, to the colon, and vice versa. It's bidirectional. There is communication from the head to the colon, from the colon, digestive system to the head. There's always information going back and forth, back and forth. So these 2 systems are very important. They work together. If the brain is not working, the gut is going to tell you the story. If the gut is not working, the brain is going to give you the evidence. You're going to be sluggish, you're not going to be focused. Your brain power, brain endurance will be affected. And so if we understand the gut and the brain connection when it comes to this healing journey, 80% of our time is going to be concentrated in the gut. Because in the gut, that's where a lot happens. We have the absorption of the key minerals that the brain needs. We have neurotransmitter production in the gut. The immune system is in the gut. So if the gut is not doing well, then it's very likely the brain is going to get the hit. I can tell you this. I know people that they can get so anxious that they have loose bowels. I also know people that have got chronic stress and they equally have chronic constipation. The first system that tends to be affected upon regression is usually the gut. The storyline among most parents is very similar. The first storyline is, my child is a cesarean baby. We introduced formula. We did not exclusively breastfeed for a long time. My child had a lot of antibiotics. My child had a lot of infections. My child was constipated at an early age. We hear a story, my child was having a lot of diarrhea. This is a storyline that is so common among the parents that are on this path. So we know very well, and based on one study in Reading, 91% of children that have got autism will have GI issues. These are gut issues. So that on its own tells us that the gut is our main area of focus. If the brain is happy, the tummy is going to be happy. If the tummy is not happy, the brain is not going to be happy. I'm yet to see somebody who's bubbly, energetic, and excited who have not opened their bowels for a week. I am yet to see that person. We all know if you don't open your bowels for 3 days, your mood, your facial expressions, and everything about you changes. It's not different with our children. Now that we understand the gut and the brain connection, and one of the key indicators that the gut is doing great will be the stool that our babies are going to be passing. And in front of you, you're looking at the Bristol Stool Chart. You have a link in the community. Please go ahead and download that. That is your task today. And begin to chart what type of stool your child is having. Over the next 21 days, what we want to see is a difference in the output that your child is going to be having. My desire is by the end of 21 days, we will be having type 4 every single day. That is going to be amazing. And it's very achievable for some children. But the majority of children that I see in clinic, they are either type 1, type or 3 times a day, they're three times a week, or they are going around 6 and 7, and then we work hard. Within 2 weeks, we are on type 4. And usually this is an indicator that healing is happening. So please do me a favor, download your Bristol Stool Chart and let me know in the community what type your child's stool is. What we are aiming for, I'm going to repeat, we are aiming for type 4 every single day. This is not type 4 three times a week. No, type 4 every single day. If it's 3, we are going to be okay with that. But ideally, we're looking for type 4. That is our key indicator. We don't want diarrhea. We don't want constipation. The gluten and casein, they are usually the biggest driver of constipation or as well as diarrhea because of the irritation of the gut. So the next challenge that we have today, if you haven't already, I want you to download your ebook, the Gluten-Free, Casein-Free ebook. Look at your announcements. The link is going to be there for you to download. For today, I want us to pay attention to foods containing casein. You have them all outlined. You also have things like kefir and yogurt included. So if your baby was already on casein, or your baby was already on yogurt, your kefir, I really want to challenge you to take that off. I know some of you have been doing the GIPS diet, etc. But unless if you are 150% sure that your child is tolerant to casein, then if you're not sure, you want to remove the kefirs, you want to remove the yogurts, and you can substitute them with the substitutes that I've already given you. There's a lot of coconut kefir that is out there that we can use. There's a lot of coconut yogurts that we can use. So we do have substitutes for milk. Casein is part of a protein that is found in all animal milk products. So yes, buffalo, camel's milk, sheep, goat, there is going to be casein in there. So we want to remove those things. What we know is the majority of children, especially those that I've looked after, they have been introduced to casein very earlier on when they were born, because mom couldn't breastfeed exclusively, and the child was introduced to dairy or casein. And unknown to parents or health practitioners, the child was probably intolerant. Intolerance was triggered from an early age, but because the child didn't have a lot of rushes, the child didn't have hives, etc. People were not aware that the child was intolerant. So casein continued. For some children, they have had loads of eczema. For some children, developed asthma. For some children, they developed recurrent ear infections and chest infections. And unknown to practitioner, dairy would have been driving or causing those problem symptoms. So I had a client, I'm sitting down with her, she's busy feeding her child yogurt, one pot of yogurt, another pot of yogurt, another pot of yogurt. And I was observing that. One reason why she was consulting with me was because the child wasn't sleeping. In observation and as well as in assessment, the child was practically breathing through his mouth because he was so full of mucus. He was known to the ENT department from one consultant to another. He was due surgery in the next 6 months. And mom was like, that's why I came to try you, Natsai. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, your child's problem could have actually been resolved at the 15 minutes discovery call. And she looks at me and she said, why? And I said, well, maybe not necessarily at the 15 minutes discovery calls, because I wouldn't have noticed or observed you feeding your baby the amount of yogurt that you've given me. And she was like, he craves it. He craves it. And I was like, that's the reason why he is struggling. That's the reason he is struggling with breathing. That's the reason he's constantly nose blocked. That's the reason he's constantly dribbling. That's the reason he's very mucousy, chesty. And that's the reason he's already on inhalers. So we need to remove dairy practically within 2 weeks. When I started talking to her on the catch-up call, 2 weeks, the whole snorting, nose blocked, breathing through the mouth, all gone, all gone. And so now mom was saying, do you think I need to go to the ENT? And I said, yes, you need to go to the ENT. They will ask you what happened, because he doesn't have any symptoms anymore. And you're going to tell them that you removed the dairy casein product, so that they can tell the other clients, the other patients that come through. Very, very easy to do. Very easy to do. There is a lot of substitutes, but because casein, dairy is also one of the staples of our daily intake, our daily foods, it can be very challenging. And it's in everything that is yummy, that is nice, that is considered sweet, that is considered, a snack. Biscuits, ice creams, sweets, chocolates. It's everywhere. So that's why it can be very daunting to think you're going to remove dairy and casein, because you're removing all these beautiful chocolate things. Okay, but that's our challenge today. So you're going to focus on removing dairy, and then let's monitor your child. Don't forget to go back on your food therapy tracker and note, this is the day that I removed my child from dairy. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me or email. But for now, from my heart to yours. Bye-bye.